Hello, everyone. I'm Dijon,
Aiara.
and welcome to the Mustardcast, the podcast about the art of storytelling and how it's used across different mediums. Make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe if you want to see our channel grow, and to click your notification bell so that you're notified when we post. As usual, free Palestine. Do everything you can to support them.
hmm
So, what media have you been interacting with lately?
I watched a couple episodes of Black Mirror for the first time on Thursday, and that was neat. I watched specifically. Shoot, of course I forget as soon as I start talking about it. I watched San Junipero again for the second time. Because I watched it once before, but that was like I watched it piecemeal. Like I wasn't really paying attention, so I watched it again because I really like that one. San Junipero, the episode that was like an allegory for like STDs, where it's like they would go hunt those monsters or whatever, and then um like the reward for it was like wet dreams. It was really weird. I watched that one, and then I watched one of the ones from I think the most recent season where it was like a lady and she was stuck. They had her doing like a remake of an old black and white like Hollywood film, and instead of like it being a complete remake, they kind of stuck her in the film, and then she got stuck in it and fell in love with the main lead, and I thought that one was really fascinating. And yeah, I'm liking Black Mirror. I'll probably watch a lot more at some point. I only really watch it when my girlfriend's watching it because it's usually wouldn't be my kind of show, but I was enjoying it. So Black Mirror. I've been trying to finish my playthrough of Signalis on the hardest difficulty to get those last two achievements. That's been a struggle and a half because the final boss is kicking my tail, unfortunately. But hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll get there someday. And then there's something else, and it's like escaping my mind right now, and I can't remember. Shit. I don't remember. Those are the two big things really. And they've been fun. How about you?
Yeah, so for me, I'm still playing Marvel Rivals like always. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Playing Clay Obscure Expedition 33 still, and that game is awesome. It is so good. I can't believe how good it is. The problem is I'm not sure if I'll be able to beat it this week because Doom comes out in a few days.
Oh.
Every time I start playing a game, a new one comes out. I started playing South of Midnight, then Clay Obscure came out. And now
Mm-hmm.
I'm playing Clay Obscure, and now Doom's coming out. So yeah, hopefully I finish all three of those before the Switch comes out.
Yeah.
I always play Balatro, just like Rivals. Balatro's great.
Oh yeah.
So I hopped back into my second playthrough of The Last of Us Part 2 because of season 2 of the show. Um, yeah, good game. Like I said, it's one of my favorite games of all time. I love The Last of Us Part 2. Great game.
Banger, banger.
In terms of what I'm watching, still watching Andor. The last 3 episodes are coming out tomorrow, so be done with
Ooh.
that soon. The Last of Us, of course, like I just mentioned. I saw the Thunderbolts, and I'll talk more about that later.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm still watching Avengers, Earth's Mightiest Heroes, and Superman the Animated Series alongside Blind Wave. Watching Lazarus, the Shinichiro Watanabe anime on Max, and season
Mm-hmm.
3 of Blood of Zeus came out. Um,
Ooh.
and just hopping into animation in anticipation for the third and final season, I rewatched
Mm-hmm.
season 2, and it was just as good as I remember it. Sees kind of, I guess, mild spoilers for season 1 and 2. Um, Season 2 introduces Hades and Persephone and puts a huge
Mm-hmm.
focus on their love story and attempt to free Hades from the underworld so that they can be together forever. And ultimately,
Ooh.
that selfish want results in the major conflict of season 3. Um, yeah, do you mind if I get into like spoilers for the first 2 seasons?
Oh, go ahead. Get into it. If
So
anything, that'll encourage me to watch it more.
yeah, in season 1, Hera starts a war due to her frustrations with Zeus's infidelity that results in Zeus dying. And in season 2, the gods compete over who will take Zeus's throne. And in the end, Hades cheats to win so that he could be with Persephone, which angers Gaia and causes her to release the primordial titans, to teach the Olympians a lesson. So season 3 is about Kronos and the rest of the Titans trying to take back over the become the ruling gods again. And it's incredible. The writing is so good. Um, the gods are, as they are in like most Greek myth stories, they're fickle and as complicated as humans. And they make very understandable and believable mistakes, but on a godly scale. um, and I'm halfway through season 3 so far, and it's the best one yet. The show has only gotten better and better with each season, and I wasn't expecting a season 2, let alone season 3. So yeah, I definitely recommend checking it out. Especially if you want to support adult animation and animation in general, and if you love Greek mythology, this would definitely be up your alley.
Bet.
Yeah, real good. It's on Netflix. So have you watched any more of Devil May Cry?
I have not had the time, unfortunately. I've been so stressed out with this yearbook nonsense, but I think tonight, as a reward, because it's all done, I'm gonna binge watch the rest.
All right, we'll talk about that next time.
Yeah.
Moving on to comics. Justice League Unlimited issues 3, 4, and 5. The global terrorist group Inferno has taken its next step toward world dominance with an ecological disaster. Will Superman, Wonder Woman, and the others have to sacrifice the life of Swamp Thing? And in issue number 4, as the Justice League reels from the horrors inflicted by the Parademon Horde, a new threat arises. A new threat arises across space and time. With the team racing to put out multiple villainous fires at once, the mystery surrounding the Martian Manhunter deepens, and the techno-terrorist group Inferno makes its boldest move yet, as their secret leader is revealed. I think that might be backwards. I think that was issue 3, and what I read before was issue 4. The keys to the mysterious in issue number 5, the keys to the mysterious super terrorist organization Inferno begin to be revealed as the Justice League realizes it's an intergalactic threat led by one of their oldest foes. Time is running out to save the world with the help of the Legion of Doom. Yeah, Justice League Unlimited has been really fun so far, of course. Bringing in a lot of elements from the cartoon that people have been wanting for a long time, to just have the Justice League be this big, expansive team that includes like the vast majority of Earth-based superheroes, and they've done that, and it's dope, and it's really fun so far.
Ooh. Sounds dope.
Next, we have Batman Superman World's Finest, numbers 35, 36, and 37. In issue number 35, a distress call from Atlantis has brought Batman and Superman deep beneath the waves and face to face with the king himself, Aquaman. But this man of two worlds harbors a secret, and it will be up to the Dark Knight and the Man of Steel to thwart a coup that threatens the peace of all undersea life. In issue number 36, Superman and Batman must team up with Aquaman and Swamp Thing to prevent a global eco-catastrophe engineered by the Floronic Man. And in issue number 37, Superman and Batman have a code against killing, but does a king of Atlantis. There's supposed to be a space there. As the Floronic Man makes his final play for dominion over the seas, Aquaman is forced to react as a warrior, not a superhero, and the consequences will surprise you. Batman Superman was fun. It's just good old fun. It's very much kind of like mimicking like older comic book stories from like the Gold and Silver Age, which is really fun. And yeah, it's just Superman, Batman, and Robin teaming up with various different superheroes every story arc, and this was them team up with Aquaman. And was it in the comics, Superman had a love interest that was a mer woman, and he meets her again here, and she like immediately cheats with her husband and kisses Superman.
Oh, wow.
And it's wild. Crazy. It's so wild. But next we have Batgirl issues number 4, 5, and 6. As you can see, I'm catching up on a lot of comics because I'm reading 3 issues at once.
Right.
As Batgirl grapples with the unlikely allies Lady Shiva has assembled to combat the Unburied, a surprise attack derails their burgeoning plans. Suddenly, it's all-out war with Cassandra Cain caught in the middle of the deadliest hands in the DC universe. Okay, in issue number 5, as Batgirl continues to unravel the complicated relationship with her mother, she finds herself alone in the dark den of her enemies. Plunged into poppy-induced hallucinations, Batgirl relives her past alongside a surprise visit from a Bat family member, who helps Cass confront the tangled roots of her origins. The lines between love, shame, and legacy begin to blur. Will Cass survive long enough to embrace her heritage or break free from it at last? That Bat family member is Stephanie Brown, aka currently going by and her by what is it? Spoiler. And um I think that was her first identity. She was also the fifth, no, fourth, and only in the main universe and canon female Robin. But that did not last very long because then she died. But then she came back to life because that's how
Oh,
comics work.
well,
Um, and then she became the second or the third actually Batgirl after Cassandra Cain. But then after Cassandra Cain became Batgirl again, they shared it for a little while, but then she went back to being Spoiler. And she's basically Cassandra's best friend. And in issue number 6, the truth behind the unburied finally comes to light as Kalden reveals a hidden history of betrayal and vengeance. But as the sins of the past threaten to consume the present, Batgirl and Lady Shiva must first survive a dangerous cave and each other. With nowhere else to run, it's the end of the line for Cassandra Cain. Will she join Lady Shiva in battle or destroy her mother herself? So the ending of issue 6 sets up a storyline featuring Bronze Tiger, and supposedly it would also delve into the origins of Lady Shiva, which has me very excited. This comic has been very good. Batgirl or Cassandra Cain is the best Batgirl. No one comes close. Barbara Gordon's great, but she's better as Oracle. But yeah, this comic is real good. And last but not least, we have Green Arrow number 22. Green Arrow dives deep into his past to uncover a startling truth. But is it too late? As Green Arrow races to uncover the mystery of the freshwater killers, as Green Arrow races to uncover the mystery of the freshwater killer's origins, Detective Benny finds herself alone and in the killer's sights. This comic has been great so far. I've said it before. It's a return to the roots of Green Arrow, of being no Robin Hood, steal from rich, give to the poor. He's out there fighting for the people, and that's kind of his role as a superhero in the Justice League. Kind of remind them who they're fighting for the little guys. Green Arrow's great. But yeah, moving on to TV and film. Lisa Cologne Zayas has been cast in Spider-Man Brand New Day. And everybody thinks she's going to be Miles Morales' mom, Rio Morales. Because she's Puerto Rican. And it's like you don't cast an older Puerto Rican lady randomly.
Right.
A lot of people I feel like are in denial of it. But I can't imagine she's anybody else. I mean, sure, I guess there's plenty of Puerto Rican people in existence. She could be any random person, but why would they randomly cast her, specifically a Puerto Rican woman who is not the most famous actor in the world, but known well enough, mostly from The Bear, to play a character in a Spider-Man movie of all things and have it not be Miles' mom? Like, I think she's very clearly going to be Miles' mom. Apparently they don't plan to introduce Miles anytime soon, and that's a big reason why people don't think it's going to be his mom, but that doesn't mean they can't introduce his mom. Because they introduced his uncle, Aaron Davis, in Spider-Man Homecoming, the first Spider-Man movie in the MCU that came out in 2017, played by Donald Glover. So there's nothing saying that they can't introduce his mom now and then in a couple of years have Miles show up.
Right.
Next, we have Peacemaker Season 2. We got the first official trailer, which I sent to you. I know you didn't watch Peacemaker, but what did you think of the trailer, knowing nothing about the show?
I thought the trailer was really neat. It did make me want to watch the original season because of it.
Yeah, Peacemaker was a sleeper hit that surprised us all with how brilliant it was. It followed Christopher Smith, aka Peacemaker, played by John Cena, after he recovers from the injuries he suffered during the events of James Gunn's The Suicide Squad movie. Peacemaker is forced to join the mysterious Argus Black Ops Squad, Project Butterfly, who are on a mission to identify and eliminate parasitic butterfly-like creatures who have taken over human bodies around the world. It was hilarious and heartfelt, like all James Gunn projects are, and I expect the same thing from Season 2. now that the main crew have formed a found family after the events of the first season. However, the big elephant in the room is how
Mm-hmm.
will they explain Peacemaker coming over to the new DCU when the first season took place in the old one? The show ended
Mm-hmm.
with the Justice League from that universe, specifically like Superman and Wonder Woman and Batman were like in shadow, but Jason Momoa um what's their name? The dude that plays the Flash, I can't remember their name at the moment. Ezra Miller
Mm-hmm.
made a cameo
Ah.
at the very end. So and now in the trailer you see Maxwell Lord played by James Gunn's brother Sean Lord, and you see
Mm-hmm.
Green Lantern Guy Gardner played by Nathan Fillion, and Hawkgirl played by Isabella Marcet, which they're appearing in the Superman movie. So Peacemaker in that scene is in the new universe. So he's gonna make his way over to the the new DC universe somehow in the show, and I'm interested to see how that happens. So it releases on Max August 21st. Yeah, I definitely suggest checking out the first season. It's really good.
That-
Next in TV and film, we have Andor. I want to correct a mistake I made in the last episode. I said that the character Bix was having PTSD because of being sexually assaulted, but I was mistaken. Her PTSD comes from being tortured by the Empire for information in season 1, which I forgot about. And she was sexually assaulted in this season in episode 3,
Mm-hmm.
and it was uncomfortably realistic.
Why?
Now she successfully defends herself and kills her
Good.
attacker, but we get an entire scene of her fighting against the Imperial officer attempting to rape her, and they use that word in the show itself, which was very surprising because Star
Oh yeah,
Wars will skirt around so many things, but this show does not.
that's
And
good.
yeah, they just don't shy away from the reality of the situations they're depicting, and that includes the real life parallels to oppressive regimes, which has always been a thing, but they kind of like put a hat on things that more clearly in this show than other Star Wars content. In the first 3 episodes, we see a lot of parallels to immigrant workers, with our main crew hiding out as undocumented workers on a farming planet. And I'm sure it's no coincidence that most of the actors, including Andor himself, are played by Latinx actors. Um, in the next 6 episodes, over the course of several years, in the time of the show itself, we see the Empire take over a planet using propaganda and forcing the citizens to rebel so that they have an excuse to use a heavier hand and actually commit genocide, all for the sake of mining a precious mineral that can be found inside the planet. And showrunner Tony Gilroy and writer on the show, of course, and his crew are not pulling any punches with this story at all.
Mm-hmm.
They're like making it very clear that the parallels to real life things that have happened in the past, like the stuff happening on that planet called Gorman, is they're pulling from the French Revolution during World War II specifically for inspiration for that story, but they're also very clearly making reference to Israel and Palestine.
Mm-hmm.
And in the next 6 episodes, or excuse
Mm-hmm.
me, I already read that. In the latest episode, we see Mon Mothma, a secret rebel who's been trying to make change from within the system, finally forced to leave the Galactic Senate and then go to the rebel base on Yavin 4 after the the start to the genocide of the Gorman people, as a bunch of people died in the episode before that.
Mm-hmm.
And before she leaves, she gives an incredible speech. And there was one quote that stuck out to me. She said, "The death of truth is the ultimate victory of evil." And it reminds me of the saying, the only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing," from Edmund Burke. And this is true for real life as well. If we sit by and do nothing, as people like Trump destroy democracy, evil will win. You can always do something about it, even if it's small, because if we all
Right.
do a little bit, excuse me, if we all do a little bit, it'll just add up eventually. And we see that in this show. We're constantly seeing um, people commit small acts of rebellion that ends up helping characters like Andor, um, you know, further their goals and destroy the Empire ultimately. And Andor, of course, is a show that is a prequel to the movie Rogue One, which Andor is in, played by the same actor. Um, and what is his name? Diego Luna, I believe. And I don't know if you even care if I spoil Rogue One.
Oh.
But Rogue One is about the people who steal the plans to the Death Star that are sent to Princess Leia at the very beginning of the first Star Wars movie. Um, and ultimately, all of those people die, including Andor. And this show is about his story leading up to that, and how he, he does the dirty work that rebellions need. He did a lot of killing people. Sometimes people who don't deserve it, but ultimately deaths that feel necessary to just keep the rebellion safe, and it's messed up, but it's just like the real things that have to happen to make a rebellion work without the oppressive regime coming in and destroying it all. And it's really good. You should check out Andor or Rogue One. Rogue One's an easier lift because it's just a movie, whereas Andor is a show. But both are really good, and I definitely suggest checking it out. And it's definitely a type of show that it's people taking real world politics, putting into the show and making it more digestible for people. And I feel like this show might open a lot of people's eyes if their eyes weren't already open. you know It'll make people woke in the good way versus the co-opted and bastardized ways that people try to use it nowadays. To be woke is a good thing, guys, if you don't know that.
Very good thing.
But yeah, moving on to the Thunderbolts. I went to go see it on opening night, and it was about what I expected. And what I expected was a fun movie. It's not the best movie in the world, but it's at the level of quality I wish most Marvel movies were. And honestly, this should become the baseline moving forward. And in fact, I think yesterday I saw a post of like some higher up at Marvel Studios saying that this is the level of quality they want to achieve going forward. And I'm like, please actively do that. I beg of you.
Mhm.
If every movie was like this, or most of them were like this, and then the ones that weren't like that were better, we'd be in a great place with the MCU.
Right.
Um, the story follows Yelena Belova, adopted sister of the deceased Black Widow, and a fellow survivor of the secret Soviet-Russian training program known as the Red Room, as she finds herself unfulfilled as an assassin and spy, and wants to become a public-facing superhero. Unfortunately for Yelena, her boss, Valentina Allegra de Fontaine, is under investigation by the U.S. government and has to clean house, and that includes the agents working for her. Valentina is played by I can't remember her name at the moment, but I'm mad because I just had her name in my head, not the actress, but the character that she plays in Seinfeld. She plays the lady in
Mhm.
Seinfeld, the main lady. I can't remember her
Oh,
name right now. Elaine. Elaine
yeah,
is the character. I don't remember her
right.
name though. Could you look it
I,
up?
it's yeah. I was also about to get Seinfeld confused with Friends with my whole chest. I'm not gonna talk about that. Is it Julia Louis Dreyfus? Is that
Yes,
how I said it?
yes,
Or that her?
yes. Julia
Yeah,
Louis
that
Dreyfus. You
yeah,
were you were thinking about Courtney Cox
probably yeah, or whatever her
from Friends.
character's name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah. Like I said, she needs to clean house, and that includes the agents she works with, or the agents that work for her, which include not only Yelena but John Walker, aka U.S. agent, the former second Captain America, as appointed by the U.S. government in the Falcon and Winter Soldier show on Disney Plus. Um, Also, it includes Ghost, a woman who gained the ability to become intangible and generate extreme amounts of power following a quantum accident which killed her parents. Classic comic book bullshit. And finally, Taskmaster, daughter of the leader of the Red Room, who, after being
Mm.
gravely injured during an assassination attempt on her father, had her mind and body controlled by a chip, which imbued her with uncanny photographic reflexes. And finally, Bob, just a regular guy, just some random dude. Uh, They were each sent to kill each other by Valentina, but quickly realized that it was all a trap to get rid of all of them at once. And from there, they're forced to work together to take down Valentina. But it turns out Bob isn't just a regular guy. Spoiler alert, if you want to go into the movie blind. I assume you don't care.
Yeah,
But
no.
but Bob, and this was like, I don't know if it was leaked or whatever, but it was basically revealed or somehow who the guy playing Bob was going to be in the first place. He's the Sentry, which is one of Marvel's Superman allegories, and
Mhm.
he has such a good fight scene against the Thunderbolts where he just absolutely
Ooh.
destroys them because they're all just assassins and super soldiers against Superman. It was so good. Um, and yeah, he also has an alter ego called the Void,
Mm.
which he transforms into in the big third act and starts turning people into shadows and making them live through their worst trauma. And the Thunderbolts have to go inside and bring Bob back out. And it was a good movie. It was fun. Um, I definitely suggest checking out whenever it's on Disney Plus. If you want to see it in theaters, you can do that. But it's definitely worth seeing on Disney Plus at the very least. But the most exciting part of the movie was at the very end. Another big spoiler, if you want to go in completely blind, in
Mhm.
absolutely no time whatsoever, they spoiled the ending of the movie in all of the advertising for the Thunderbolts. Because on posters and billboards and on social posts, they rip off the Thunderbolts logo, which has always had an asterisk next to it, to signify
Right.
that it wasn't the final title of their team, and now it says the New Avengers. Um,
Mm.
and it's great marketing, to be honest, but
Mhm.
it might be set up for a movie that I'm afraid we'll never get.
Oh
Um,
no.
Reportedly, Sam Wilson, Captain America, has recruited his New Avengers team off screen, which some people
Mhm.
are upset about. But that's fine to me, as long as we get a New Avengers movie that's about the Thunderbolts' New Avengers competing with Captain America's New Avengers.
Mhm.
If I was a betting man, I'd say that Sam's New Avengers will include Monica Rambeau as Photon, Spider Man, She Hulk, Shuri as Black Panther, and Luke Cage. Um,
Ooh.
this is a variation of the Mighty Avengers team from the comics, minus a few characters who haven't been introduced yet. And since all of these characters not only currently exist in the MCU, but were recently introduced, with the exception of Luke Cage, who I think will probably make his debut in Daredevil Born Again Season 2, which I'm pretty sure is coming out next year, this lineup makes a lot of sense. In a perfect world, we'd be getting this movie before Doomsday and Secret Wars, but that's just not possible with how soon those movies are releasing. But hopefully they don't just drop this storyline or resolve it in the next two Avengers movie or even off screen, because that's a really interesting story arc. Because at the end they talk about how Sam is trying to like copyright Avengers after he found out
Mhm.
that they formed a new Avengers team with these villains or assassins and
Right.
stuff. And Bucky is his friend, so he's very confused. Like, what are you doing, bro? Why are you forming a new Avengers team? Well,
Right.
so like, yeah, that's a very interesting storyline. I want to see that,
Mhm.
but they're rushing it to get to Doomsday so they can reboot, and I hope that reboot doesn't get rid of this and that this persists and becomes a story arc in the future.
Right. That'd be super fun.
But yeah, like I said, overall, Thunderbolts
Mm.
was a good movie. I remember checking it out. I give it like a 3.5 out of 5. It's a good movie.
Banger.
All right. So after 4 weeks, we're finally gonna do our review of The Last of Us Season 2. But this time I have a special guest. Returning, we have Christian, also known as Black Norma. You want to, I guess, introduce yourself again for the people who might not have seen the Sinners review?
Yeah, my name is Christian. I make music under the name Black Norma. I'm a musician and screenwriter in the city, and I'm a teaching artist by day. So yeah, this is my second time on the cast, and it's cool to be welcome back to talk about a cool piece of television. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man, no problem. By the city, he's referring to Baltimore City, of course, just in
Oh, of
case.
course, absolutely. Oh yeah, we got. Oh, I got him. Yeah, Baltimore for sure.
Mm-hmm. let's start off with
Yeah, let's get into it. Yeah.
our spoiler free, just over our thoughts on the first three episodes of season 2 of The Last of Us.
Yeah. For me, I think it's kind of taking the format that season one did, where it's like we're gonna have the skeleton there, but we're gonna add more subtext or present information in a way that's more efficient for television. Like the first scene, like going to the first scene in the game, it's Joel, I believe, talking to Tommy, and he's like, I saved her. Like he has that moment. But in the game sense, it makes more sense for it to be Joel and Tommy because at the end of the first game, we know they were in Jackson. And yeah, Joel would tell Tommy what everything that happened. But in the television context, I don't think it would work that well. Like, why is Joel randomly on this one day telling Tommy this information? Like, it's very kind of sporadic, Joel telling Tommy. So just from the start of the episode, I feel like there was a lot of differences there. Um,
Yeah,
Joel,
the honestly,
sorry, good.
forget no spoilers. We're just gonna get into spoilers. There's no point in
Oh,
doing
I'm
spoilers.
sorry. I am definitely getting the spoilers. My fault.
No, it's fine because we might as well just get into spoilers because it's gonna be hard to even try to give our
Yeah,
thoughts. But like, yeah,
yeah,
the episode 1 opens the way part 2 opens, where it's just the very last scene of the first game, where it's Ellie
yeah,
asking if he's telling the truth, and he's just like, yeah, and it's very clear that she doesn't believe him, but she just goes with it.
yeah. Which showing an extended version of that is very interesting because of course, playing the first game, watching the first season, we know that it's an immediate cutoff. So showing like this, showing Ellie walk down the hill after saying okay, it almost felt like wrong to watch. It felt weird because I'm so used to the half cut. But I think starting it off from that scene, it makes sense because that lies what leads to everything going forward, and immediately leads into what the first episode is, which is the last interaction that Joel and Ellie really have with each other. Um, like immediately, it's like that's what I feel like the episode is dedicated towards, like the rift between Joel and Ellie's relationship. So it's like, why not start with Ellie walking away from him? It was,
Yeah,
I feel like it was a very intentional choice for sure.
but then from
So I
there
felt like that was interesting.
we go back to the
Yeah.
hospital, and where was it? It's I forget
Oh,
where it's Salt Lake.
Boston.
It was in
Oh,
Salt Lake
Salt Lake.
City,
My fault.
and
Yeah.
we see Abby and her friends, mourning the dead after they buried them, and sitting at the graves.
Hmm.
And for those of you who haven't played the game and are only watching the show, we're going to spoil the game, of course. She's sitting at the grave of her father, and if you play the game, you know that. But if you don't, you're curious, like, okay,
Hmm.
well, she killed someone. We don't know who, but it was clearly someone close to her. It could have
Hmm.
been a lover, it could have been a friend, it could have been anybody. And it being her
Right.
father, ultimately, who it is didn't matter. You just know it's someone close to her,
Right.
and that's all that matters.
And
And she wants revenge, and clearly, this is going to be through line. They're not going to set this up and this not become a thing. So you immediately get what like the main conflict is going to be off the rip. And I'm curious, do you think that let me rephrase that. I'm curious if you think that this is being like this change was made to kind of allow people to have a little bit more sympathy and understanding for what Abby does in episode 2.
hmm. Huh. That is a very good question. Because me and another friend of mine, yeah, yeah, like we were talking about that decision. I feel like from a television perspective, they were trying to allow the audience to immediately be shown Abby's perspective. And I feel like from a writing perspective, it does allow the audience to be empathetic. Um, but I don't know if this is a hot take or not. I also think it could potentially be to the not to the full detriment of the narrative, but it kind of some of the shock factor kind of goes away because Abby is set up so early, and we know that Abby is going after Joel.
Yeah, I agree.
I
I
feel
think
like
honestly it would be more interesting if I wish they would have like actually infiltrated Jackson and like they never introduced those characters. Like they just come into the city one
exactly.
day with the refugees and we see them. We, outside of the show, keep them up with who's playing who in terms of, casting, knowing like, oh, that's Abby. She's in the city now. She's looking for Joel.
Mhm.
And like having it be a big secret to where this character shows up and it just seems like, okay, this is gonna be a new character in the story. We don't know why they're there. Then they kill Joel. And then later on we learn why they killed Joel. So immediately like I hate this character. And then slowly you learn why she did the horrible thing. Which is a thing that
Yeah.
I talked about years ago in the Last of Us part two review about how I kind of wish they would have done that with the game, where like there was a little bit more
Right.
kind of mystery around Abby, even more so than there was in terms of just them showing up, killing him, leaving, and them not fully knowing why until later.
Right. Yeah. I feel like. Hmm, feel like they would. It's kind of tough for season two, I imagine, because they already are aware of the meta conversation about part two and how that game was received, and how like making it too jarring for audiences could be too much. So I see them being like, let's introduce Abby in the first frame, like of the like after the first scene immediately before the theme song. Let's introduce Abby now so we can set up her intentions, we can meet her crew, so then it won't be as shocking when Joel is dead or Joel gets killed by them. Like I feel like they wanted to lessen the blow of it, but I also think that lessening the blow of it also kind of takes away the narrative shock of it.
Yeah.
Um, Even though there's still some shock, and also the way that they kill Joel in the episode is way more violent
Yeah.
than in the game somehow. But yeah.
So before we even get introduced to Jackson, right after that scene with Abby and
Mhm,
her crew, I think we get into the intro, and then after that we have Ellie training in the barn.
mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, it's I feel like a huge focal point for this episode in general is Ellie's desire for independence, and it's very apparent in that first scene, doing something that we never see her do in the game, which is train in hand-to-hand combat, specifically against
Yeah.
much bigger and stronger opponents. Because something me you've talked about off podcast is how um, in the show, Ellie is much physically smaller than she is in the games. In the games, she's skinny, but she has some height to her. She's not like particularly tall, but she's not as small as the actor playing Ellie in the show. So in the show, they kind of like hang a hat on her size and the gender of the character, which the actor who plays Ellie is non-binary, Bella Ramsey.
Mhm.
But of course, Ellie herself, the character, is a woman, and there is a lot of like subtle sexism, and you see it in this opening scene where
Yeah.
um Jesse is worried about what her father thinks, and he wants the big guy to pull his punches because he doesn't want to hurt her. And me and you talked about how like Ellie, it's not even just that she wants independence; it's also that this is the apocalypse. There are zombies, and also there are just horrible people out there. You can't afford to hold back with her just because she's small and she's a woman. Like she has to be able to
Right.
defend herself because the zombies damn sure don't care about gender or size or whatever, and the
Right.
messed up people out there damn sure don't care about that, and in fact they will try to take advantage of that. So she needs to know how to defend herself against people that are bigger and stronger than her, because she's always going to be dealing with someone that's bigger than stronger than her, just due to the fact that she is smaller than most people.
Right.
And I think that was a
And
very interesting way to start the episode with her. Specifically, the way she's fighting is like using like Brazilian jiu-jitsu to like put people in arm bars and make them tap out, or like in a real fight probably break their limbs to disable them, and keep them
yeah.
from attacking her. Which you know something that'll come back later. Um,
Oh, absolutely. And I feel like there is a lot to be said about independence and autonomy and Ellie's relationship with that, and the fact that the end of the first season and the end of the first game, Ellie was denied all of that by a man. So
And also, I
she,
mean, she was denied it by the Fireflies as well because neither of them were giving her
yeah,
the choice. He didn't give her the choice to say she didn't want to do it. They didn't give her the choice to say that
right,
she did want to do it.
right. So it's like compounding all of that. Her wanting independence makes sense for sure because she feels like, I mean, she was born into the apocalypse. I feel like frequently she has constantly been denied the ability to choose something or have an autonomous decision. Um,
She's
and to the
also
point of being like, sorry.
no, she's also fighting for independence in a town full of people who won't let her do anything dangerous out of fear of upsetting Joel. You know,
Which is funny.
the choice he made haunts her, not only because she believes that she could have potentially saved the world, but also because Joel is a leader in the community and everyone is aware of their relationship and therefore filters everything she does through him. She can't escape
Right,
him or his will having an impact on her choices,
right.
and she hates him for that.
He's
And
like this hidden. He's like in the shadows the entire episode. Even with like talking to Tommy, like when they're sniping later on, Tommy's like, "Oh, I don't know about that. Joel might have." Like Joel is kind of like this. Yes, Joel is this looming presence in Ellie's life, and I mean, she's sleeping in the shed. She's not sleeping in the same house as him. Dina talks about Joel. Jesse talks about Joel. Like even with not talking to him, she can't escape him at all.
yeah,
Um,
but
but
like,
even like
no, what were you gonna say?
but yeah, touching on the combat aspect, it makes sense because she's, yeah, it's the apocalypse, and she wants to be able to defend herself. And again, it's like she's being denied of something
Mm-hmm.
by having someone pull their punches while fighting her. She's being denied of the ability to gain survival tactics or the ability to
Exactly.
properly defend herself.
To
So
learn how
it's
to
like,
either take the punch or dodge the punch.
right. And at the end of the episode, Ellie gets denied again.
Yeah, just moving
Yeah.
on in terms of season one. Uh, the addition of the therapist is very interesting. That's something that is not
Yeah.
in the games, but they added to the show.
Right.
And earlier, which actually, damn, I'm realizing there are a couple other things we should talk about as well about like Dina,
No, it's too
which
many.
Dina
Yeah, I was about
leading
to say Dina.
Dina's relationship with
Sorry,
Joel
go
in
ahead.
this is she's much closer to Joel,
Yeah.
which leads on which
You read my mind. Yeah.
leads into some decisions he makes later making a lot more sense than they did in the game. And in the scene where we're introduced to Dina and see Joel for the first time in season two, um, she figures out that he's in therapy because he uses a very specific line that is kind of like therapy speak, and he immediately kind of gets defensive and is like, "Don't tell anybody," because you got to remember the I mean that's still a bit of a mindset today, but especially in this
Yeah.
world where the world went to shit in 2003 versus in the games it went to shit in 2013. This went to
Yeah.
hell 10 years earlier than that, so he very much still has that old school mindset, and he's in his 60s at this point in the show, of like therapy isn't something you should be proud to be going to versus today. It's much more normalized to be going to therapy. So he kind of is just like, don't tell anybody I'm going to therapy. That it's none of their
Right.
business. Um,
Yeah. Yeah. That was a very key difference that I noted. Like the fact that, yeah, the fact that Joel and Dina have a relationship, that was a very interesting layer. And it also was interesting that, like, again, Joel being like the mentor old man figure that he is, he kind of takes Dina under his wing. And is it interesting? It's like, I don't want to say Dina replaced Ellie for him, but I feel like Joel takes some sort of peace in there being another young person that looks up to him and
Yeah.
doesn't know all of his ugliness.
Yeah, he definitely
And
has a soft spot, especially for young ladies, just because he had a daughter who
yeah,
was like maybe like 13 or something like that before she passed. So
right.
he had a teenage daughter.
hmm And he can, he just, he can't help but be a girl dad. Like it's in
Yeah,
his blood. He can't help but do it.
absolutely,
And yeah, he's
for sure.
doing that with Dina in a way.
And getting
And
into the therapy scene, um,
mhm,
we do hear him say, he says specifically, like, it's almost like she's my daughter when talking about Dina,
mhm,
because
yeah,
and later on we hear how she watches movies with him. She watches his favorite movies with him, the Curtis and Viper action movies, which I can only imagine
mhm,
is like a 80s action joint like Lethal Weapon or something like that. And
yeah,
yeah, it's very interesting. Like you said, he can't help but to be a girl dad. To wrap up our talk on episode 1 of season 2 of The Last of Us, I want to talk about the dancing, the New Year's party in the barn, and the infamous scene, the scene that was in, like, I feel like, I don't know if it was a trailer or if, like, I remember this being part of the advertising for the second game, where they just
I think it was
they
like
just like showed this scene in full.
it was like
It
it
was,
was in E3 like 2017 or something, or no, E3 maybe 2018 or something. Yeah,
yeah,
it was for E3 trailer for it.
yeah, and I remember it being a big deal. Like, doing kisses in CG is really hard, and they did it really well. And just that
They
whole
did.
scene is so good. Isabella Marcet is an incredible Dina in this, and
Yeah.
like everything in the show, we get to know Dina so much more, and that
Mhm.
instantly makes her way more likable. Like, she's very, like, Dina is an incredible character in the game, and
Yeah.
with being able to spend more time with her in the show, she becomes even better and even more likable than she already was, which she was an extremely likable character. She was easily one of the best parts of the game.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, she takes in a way the role that Ellie had in the first game, where you're not playing as Joel, now you're playing as Ellie, and the character that's alongside you most of the time is Dina. So
Right.
she has to be likable, she has to be interesting. You have to want to have her around, and they
Right.
do a good job in this show of, like, setting her up as a very important character in Ellie's life, but also setting up why she would want to go with Ellie on the journey that she does, because she also has a connection to Joel. And just,
Right.
again, going back to that scene and focusing on that, it was like it was shot for shot exactly how it was in the game. Like,
Oh yeah, basically
this was one of those things where they were like,
line for line.
this isn't something we can change. This has to be
Mhm.
exactly how it was done in the game, because in the game it was already done perfectly and there was no better way to do it. This is the way you had to do it.
Right. Mhm.
Every single line,
Yeah.
even, like,
Even the
because,
framing
like, yeah,
to the
the framing,
music,
like,
everything.
from the moment they enter the scene, the framing is the same. Where you see behind Ellie, Jesse walks up, the shot
Mhm.
where they're showing them talking to each other is like the exact same shot. And, like, just everything about
Yeah.
that scene was shot for shot, word for word, bar for bar. It was the exact same,
Yeah.
as it was in the game, and it was incredible. It was just as good.
Right. Because it is a pivotal scene in such an important set piece. And
Yeah, it sets up a
yeah,
lot.
visually in the game, yeah, it sets up a lot of just character dynamics, a lot of just everything that the first episode is building up in regards to just Joel and Ellie. It sets up a lot of stuff. And kind of like one of the inciting incidents. But
Yeah, we
yeah,
get, of course,
overall.
the relationship with Dina and Ellie blossoming. Um, and then we
Mhm.
get, you know, kind of seeing more of
So
her. Yeah, we get the Seth scene as well of him calling them out of their names, and then we get Joel responding to that, pushing Seth, knocking him to the ground, and Ellie being upset at him because it's like she can take care of herself. She's it's another case of him taking a choice away from her, of her being able to
right.
decide how to handle the situation, whether she was probably going to hit him realistically, but also
Mhm.
like just giving her that choice of, I want to hit him, you didn't have to do it for me, I can take care of myself.
Mhm. Yeah.
And of
Yeah,
course,
again, like autonomy and control. Like it goes back to that again of like Ellie having this beautiful moment, and then Seth ruins it, and then Ellie has this moment to defend herself, and Dina, and then Joe comes in and ruins it, and Ellie's response is just a boiled up amalgamation of all of the denial that she's had and the lack of control she feels like she has over her life. So yeah, I feel like changing anything about that scene as it was in the game, it is kind of like why change it, because you had the framing, the, the costume, everything was the same, and it should be because there are parts in the Last of Us games where there are things that are just already they're universal no matter which medium you put it in, and I feel like that scene is an example of one of them. Sure,
yeah.
but
So getting into episode 2, the like one of the it just has the big moment, the moment that sparked all of the drama surrounding the game. Um,
uh,
and before we get to that, let's just talk about the big major change that they make to this is that Jackson is attacked by a gigantic horde of infected.
like that's a great example of adaptation, because if they didn't make the infected a network connected by all of these like just strands, if they didn't do that in the first season, it wouldn't even allow for a set piece like this to happen where they would know that Jackson is there. Like I feel like that's a very just interesting example of how made the effective they made the infected work within a television context. And
Also, the
I
movie
have,
magic
yeah.
to make that crowd of infected work with a mix of tons of CGI, but also actual real people, in makeup, mixed among them was incredible, and it looked so good. Something I'm not a big
It
fan
did.
of is that we live in a very spoiled world where if CGI isn't James Cameron Avatar levels, it's considered
Mm,
bad, and it's like, bruh,
that
the
sucks.
the
Yeah,
CGI in this show was incredible, and
right. And also, it's a
this
keyword. It's
show
a keyword you said there. It's a
show
keyword you're saying.
exactly
Show. It is
this
a show.
this show is expensive, but it's still a show, so it still doesn't
Mm,
have the budget of a movie. So the
yeah.
CGI being at this level is incredible. The bloater looked good. It didn't look fine, it didn't look bad, it looked good, and
Yeah.
people just
Which is
expect too
which
much.
is yeah. And it's like as long as it works within the context of the story and it's serviceable, it is all good. Like it's not Sharknado. Like it's not. It's the visual effects are very effective in the storytelling, and it's grounded, especially because they mix the visual effects with practical effects. So I feel like it gets to the point where you could try to discern and pinpoint who are the real infected and who are the real people and extras and where the CGI begins, but it's like I, I
You
didn't
don't
feel any encouragement to do
Yeah,
that.
you don't notice it in the moment because one, it's frantic, but
Exactly.
also it's done very well, and it's masked very well by just the chaos, as well as like the snow being kicked up and gunfire and fire itself just going all over the place.
Right. So yeah, I feel like visual effects wise, especially for television, regardless of the budget that they had, it's definitely an achievement because they have to make like 6 movies. So
Yeah,
yeah, thought that from a production standpoint, it was a very nice set piece. Like it was a very good set piece. From a storytelling standpoint, it definitely worked for me.
this is
And
also
also for people that sorry, go ahead.
no. What were you gonna say?
For people that played the game, it's definitely a subversion because as you
Like, this is also something that they could have done in the game too, and it could have been cool, especially like,
yeah.
yeah, like this could have been a moment where you play as Tommy. Like the infected are
Hmm.
attacking, and then you switch to Tommy. You have to fight off the infected as Tommy. You have like a mini boss with the bloater. I mean, in that like small
Right.
alleyway, you have to like run around and dodge it and shoot it with the fire. That could have been sick. That could have been sick. This is
It
this
could
is definitely something that could have been actually in the game,
right.
and it
It's
was
definitely one of those situations where it's just like it that's an example of the show does it better to an extent.
I
But
don't
sorry, go
I
ahead.
don't think this is an example of the show does better. I think this is one of the examples of it's just different. Not necessarily better, it's just they did
Okay.
something different. Because this is something I could easily see them doing in the game. But just with like hindsight, they decided, you know, it would be interesting if Jackson was attacked. And how that would play into the story, which we get a lot in episode 3. But yeah, getting into the big controversial moment of the entire franchise. Yeah, this is the moment where, like, I feel like in the game, when she pulled out the gun, shot his leg, that's the moment where you know, okay, it's up for him. Which is just, it was just sadistic. What I love about this is definitely a thing in the game, but this is another thing where this isn't even a matter of the change in medium either, because this is something they could have done in the game too, but it's just a matter of like I said, hindsight is 2020. You realize you could have done something better. And something that they do better is while Abby is torturing Joel, you see the horror on her friends' faces as they're like, bruh, we're here to kill him, not torture him. What are you doing? Like you can tell, like all of them. I think a mistake a lot of people make is that I think everybody there except for Mel absolutely wanted Joel dead, because it's very clear that they also lost people that they care about. Right. They weren't there to torture him. They wanted him to die,
they just wanted to get the job done.
Yeah, they didn't necessarily want him to suffer or to have to go through torturing him or watch somebody torture him. That's not what they wanted. But they definitely wanted him dead.
Right.
Which I think is a lot of mistakes some people make, is that people like that, they didn't want him dead. No, they wanted him dead. They just not like that.
Yeah, like that was a very key characterization difference I noticed. They were kind of scared of Abby and who she turned into while interrogating him after shooting him. Like a lot of the camera shots of the reactions was they I don't want to say they kind of felt bad to an extent. But yeah, like you're saying, it's like this wasn't our mission. This is extra. Like, why are we tourniqueting him? Why are we doing that? It was very clear that it wasn't everyone's intention to handle Joel the way that she did. And I feel like that offers a lot of characterization for Abby, where it's not just about killing him, it's about like making him feel as much pain and as much hurt as possible. You know, like one of the lines that Craig Mason didn't change, like, you stupid old man, you don't get to rest this. Like, I feel like that's
another one of those things where it's just like, that's perfect. You don't need to change that.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, at all. And yeah, Joel has killed a lot of people, swiftly and disgustingly. And based on the way they phrased it in the finale and the way that they showed it in the finale of him killing all of those people, Joel executed all of those people swiftly with like a military like demeanor. So she's like, you don't get to kill, like, I'm not gonna kill you the way you killed my dad, basically.
Yeah.
Like, that was the overall energy that she was giving off in that scene. Yeah, shotgun to the leg. It was somehow more brutal in the show than the game.
Yeah, but yeah, this is where we see Joel die. And you mentioned earlier how it was worse than it was in the game, because in the game they don't show it, because technically, like, it could have been more graphic in the game because he gets his head smashed in. But here, they, you know, because his face is basically ruined, they don't show it, because they were like, okay, that would be a bit much. This game is already very dark, depressing, and violent. You don't need to see your hero's face smashed up. That's a bit much.
Exactly. Yeah.
Whereas in this,
show Ellie's immediate reaction to it.
In this, they show him getting stabbed in the neck, and show the moment where he dies. Like, we see it. We see it happen. And that just makes it hurt so much more. I feel like I didn't get that pain of watching him die until I watched the normies react to it, which was the second time I was watching somebody react to that scene. Like the first time I was like, dang, this is messed up and sad, but I already experienced it twice in the game because I played through that section twice already. Um,
Right.
and it wasn't until that third watch with the normies I was like, you know what, that is messed up. Like that was the like it didn't happen the first time it happened. I didn't cringe, but that moment I was like, ooh, I had to close my eyes. I was like, oh, that's painful. It actually hit me at that moment. It took me watching it multiple times for it to hit me.
Yeah, like it makes you wince. Yeah, like the violence because of the fact that they don't show it in the game. Like they allude to it and like you hear the sound of it happening and then you just see Ellie's response and Joel's head is out of focus. Showing the violence right there and making it apparent, it it made it gruesome in a way. It made what Abby did even more deplorable. And it just it, I playing after playing the game, of course, like being someone that played the game, I was like, oh, they didn't have to go that hard. What he do to make them niggas that mad? Like we know what he did to make them that mad, but it's like sheesh.
Yeah.
Like it was I just wasn't expecting it to be that gruesome
But yeah, like of
at
course
all.
it hurts for a lot of people when people hate Abby, but it's like two wrongs don't make it right. But also like more like I think like morality is so different in this world. Like it's hard to judge this
Uh,
world by today's morality. So it's like arguably you could argue that her getting revenge isn't a bad thing in this world. It's
right.
it's how she did it that's a problem, and that she should have just killed him
Mhm.
and left, and that she didn't need to do all that extra stuff. And if
Right.
she did just kill him and leave, ultimately she wouldn't have her and her group wouldn't have even gotten discovered by Ellie. Granted, I
Mhm.
guess what is it? Dina heard everything, so I guess it would have been too late at that point because Dina heard all their names and where they're from, or
Yeah.
saw the patch and knew where they were from. So I guess maybe she would still knew, but they could have had even more of a head start. But like yeah,
Right.
Joel, he wasn't a good person,
It
and
wasn't.
like we spend so much time with him and see him, you know, do relatively good things, in the pursuit of taking Abby to the Firefly or taking Ellie to the Fireflies, and then afterwards, kind of like raising Ellie and Jackson. But behind the scenes, he
Yeah.
does a lot of messed up stuff that we don't see. That there's probably
Right.
more people out there who wanted to kill him that just didn't have the time or resources to spend 5 years preparing. Like that's part of the reason why you know Abby being so jacked in a game is so important is because she was skinny 5 years ago. She's not anymore. She put the work in to
Mhm.
get big so that when she met him, she would be strong enough to take him down no matter what. Which is a good way to get into episode 3 with the opening
T-
scene of Tommy, looking at his brother's corpse and telling him, give my love to Sarah, Joe's daughter who passed away at the very beginning of the apocalypse.
yeah, like the first shot we see of the episode is all of the wreckage.
Which also,
Like
I want to
y-
mention how in the intro, at the very end, there's usually the cordyceps form two figures, and it's Joel and Ellie. In the intro for episode 3, it's just Ellie.
hmm, yeah, they knew what they were doing.
That
It's like,
second figure
oh,
is gone.
wow.
But I'm curious, a lot of people have been
Mhm.
saying, and I didn't check in episode 4, if they might have added the second person back because it's Dina and Ellie now. I would have to check.
Mhm.
I'll probably check with
Maybe.
episode 5 because I wasn't paying attention to
Right.
the intro this time because I was taking notes because the opening scene before the intro with Isaac was so good. I was like, I gotta write this shit down. I got thoughts.
Oh no, yeah. That was yeah. Yeah. Um yeah, the first shot being just the wreckage and then we see the emotional wreckage. Like we see all of those like clickers just lying on the ground, burnt up, and then we see Tommy immediately just processing like that's my brother. That's his watch. This this is what they did to him. And yeah, he said to give Sarah my love line. And like I feel like again, different but also slightly better too, allowing Tommy to have that moment. It that's something we don't get in the game. It's an immediate time jump.
Yeah,
Even
this
the
is
scene in the
definitely
hospital with Ellie.
this is definitely one of
So
those moments like I said, expanding on scenes in a way that you can't do in the game because you got to keep people actually playing the game is something that
right.
a show does better than a game because
Mhm.
it depends on the game, of course, and the type of game. But The Last of Us, at the end of the day, it's an action game. It's a survival horror stealth action game. So they can't linger on certain things for too long, despite how much they want to tell the story. Arguably, they could pull a Kojima and have 30-minute cutscenes, but we get an
Yeah.
incredible scene with the council meeting, which starts off with the dude making a very understandable argument about how they should start make like having corn crops. But then
Yeah.
they very
And it kind
quickly
of it
go ahead.
oh, the motorcycle. Yeah. I know it's all good. But it turned into Parks and Rec with the guy with the corn. He was like, I just believe that we should just have corn because me personally, I believe that. Like, I thought that was an interesting scene.
Yeah, but it's also like very real and very like showing kind of like how this city functions. But then
Yeah.
I forget it was Maria or Tommy, but they were just like, this isn't what we're here to talk about. Like we're not talking about corn today.
Maria.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then they open up the floor to the people who they have written down who are allowed to kind of like give their opinion. And yes,
Seth.
Seth gets up and he starts yelling, which is like this scene is very interesting because I think a lot of it's playing on people's emotions watching the show. Me as a person,
Right.
I am firmly on the side of no, do not go after them. That's stupid. So
Hmm.
when you actually listen to what Seth is saying without anger in your heart and the want for vengeance for Joel, you recognize that he's kind of pushing the exact same mindset you would think a person like him would have, a bigot would have, where he's like, we can't be seen as weak. We got to go kill him. We got to stop him. Otherwise, they're going to keep bringing more. Not thinking about what the consequences of that would be. Him just thinking, no, might makes right. We got to go and show our power. And very much kind of
Right.
perpetuating the clear thought process he has already. And it's like,
Right.
not like, I think a lot of people kind of like, some people maybe like kind of maybe turned around on him like maybe he's not so bad because of the scene, and I'm like no, he's kind of like
Ah.
still pushing a very conservative mindset in that scene because
Right.
he is not right about anything he's saying.
It is. It was very much so. I mean, the season is going to be political in some ways in regards to the way that we talk about justice, retribution, what's right, and the law. Like the fact that it's an actual city council meeting, they're talking about upholding some sort of moral code, which goes back to episode 2 when Abby says there's some things that are just plain wrong. Like what you did is wrong. Like I feel like in regards to what Seth is getting into, in regards to the entire city council meeting, it's definitely getting into like what is wrong, what does justice mean? And Seth's rhetoric, like very similar to like post 9/11 rhetoric, where it's like we need to like take a stand, we need to make a point. Like it's almost kind of in like this, you don't come into our backyard and act a certain way and we don't retaliate because it makes you think that we're soft or that we're pushovers. We can't have that happen. And it's like a very, very much so, it is a conservative mindset. And it's a mindset that I think leads to a lot of wars and a lot of violence because it immediately gives yourself a narrative to do whatever you want. Like,
Which will feed into the overall theme of the rest of the show. As we go to Seattle and we have the WLF and the Seraphites, which we'll talk about towards the end. But yeah,
yeah,
this leads to Ellie standing up and reading her rehearsed speech, which is something that is out of character for her, and she says it herself when she's reading the speech, but that she did because she wanted them to hear her and she wanted them to understand, and she is hoping that if she plays by their rules and writes a very heartfelt message and also passionate message that they'll hear her out. And watching the inside the episode afterwards, it is kind of revealed that Maria very likely voted yes on sending the 16 people
hmm,
because of a
yeah,
combination of several things that maybe she did kind of there is a certain level of truth to what Seth is saying in the sense that we don't know why they came. Maybe they weren't just there for Joel. Maybe they're coming back, and maybe there's a mindset of that from Maria on top of Joel was her brother-in-law. Joel was her brother. She loved Joel. Now he's dead. Go kill the people that killed my brother.
Right.
There's a level of that there as well as protecting the community. Like she can create excuses in her mind to seek revenge in that moment. As a member of the council, where maybe she should do this because it's wrong, but she can find excuses in her mind to make it right and to make it be a thing beyond just vengeance for her brother, and she could rationalize it as also being, protecting the town. Right. And since it was 3, the assumption is probably that it was her, Tommy, and Jesse, because those would probably be the only people that would vote for it, because those are the people that would be on her side, on Ellie's side specifically.
Right. Which, we didn't even touch on the Seraphites. Yeah, we see them traveling, which was a aspect of the game that was like a critique that folks had, and I understood somewhat, like the fact that they're just in Seattle. They leave from Jackson and they're just there because, of course, it's games. We wanna craft weapons and Molotovs.
It also would not have been fun to travel across the country. Like that was the point of the first game, but that is not the point of this game.
Yeah, like and that was, again, television can slow down a bit, so it was cool that we were able to like see them camping, see them traverse a lot of just the Midwestern locales, and just that was cool.
So I think they're doing a very similar thing that they did with Abby. They're showing the Seraphites early on to garner more sympathy for that group and kind of like better set up where that storyline goes, which it seems like it's going to go the exact same way it did in the games, where it's both sides are bad to an extent, and very fence sitting in regards to the real life Israel versus Palestine conflict that it mimics, which is unfortunate. I wish that wasn't the case. I wish they took a stand, but Hollywood people don't want to take a stand and get blacklisted.
Right. And I feel like I'm interested in how the Seraphites are going to get characterized, because I'm interested in how that's going to pop up in the show.
Yeah,
having that conversation with you off the podcast of like Zionism creeping into the like subtext of the narrative is like, it's hard to ignore to an extent.
Yeah.
No, to a major extent, it's hard to ignore.
And in to an extent in the story, it is the problem with how they do it. The story is like the story does very much show that WLF, IDF, the parallel there. Yeah. And it shows the WLF as they are bad people. They have become as bad as Fedra, but they also make it seem like the Seraphites are, well, in the game, the Seraphites just straight up are as bad, which in real life, the Palestinians are not anywhere near
at all
as bad as Israel. And that's where the problem comes into play, is that it's trying to make it seem like it's an equal problem on both sides in terms of the level of violence and the power dynamic. And it's like, no, it's not.
Yeah.
No, it is not.
Yeah. And I feel like in regards to the macro political level conversations that The Last of Us tries to have, it kind of, that is the one thing where it fails a bit, because that whole scene in the second game, again, spoilers for the second game all over this thing, but when Abby talks to Lev and it's just like, you're my people, like it doesn't matter. And it's like, oh, it's someone from the wolves and a Seraphite bonding together. Love conquers all. But in situations like this, in regards to the Israeli-Palestinian genocide, like in regards to that, it's hard for there to be a fence-sitting take on it, or be like, at the end of the day, love wins. And it's like, well, at the end of the day, imperialism is winning in real time. Like, in regards to those macro political conversations, The Last of Us does fall in its face in those cases. So, in regards to how they're going to handle the political implications of that,
Yeah,
I'm yeah,
I always like to leave the door open for just potentially Neil Druckmann not being, as bad as he seems. Um,
yeah. I hope.
because we're all just making assumptions based off of he's posted some weird things. It's
Yeah,
he said some strange things in interviews. It's hard not to make the assumption. In this case for me, it's guilty till proven otherwise because uh he hasn't done
right,
much to do to prove otherwise. And of course,
right.
this game isn't made just by him. I imagine there are plenty of non-Zionist people making this game who are taking inspiration from the conflict. Is there's a conversation we had about taking inspiration from ongoing conflicts, even though that's been done across time of people taking inspiration from ongoing
Yeah.
conflicts to tell
I mean,
stories. It's about
Star
how you do
Wars.
it. It's about how you do it. Star
Yeah.
Wars. Every comic book ever made during the 40s. So like,
Right.
yeah, that happens all the time. But like again, like I said, it's how you do it, and we'll definitely be getting deep into that as they are now in Seattle, and we'll be getting into next episode. They're the day one, the first day in Seattle, and yeah, this is great. Once again, thanks Christian
Yeah.
for being on the podcast. We're gonna keep doing this every other week on the podcast until this season's over, which is gonna be over sooner rather than later. Yeah, good having you.
Um,
Once again, you want to tell
oh, of
people where they can
course.
find you?
Yeah. First and foremost, yeah, thanks for having me again. As always, it was a great conversation. And yeah, I look forward to the next time when we can recap like future episodes in the season. Um, yeah, you can find me at underscore black Norma underscore. You can find me on IG. That is where, all of the things that are going on creatively in my orbit can be found. And yeah, just thanks again. Thanks for having me. It was very fun.
So moving on to video games. First, we have Mafia: The Old Country. I don't have much to say about it. I sent you a trailer. I assume you watched it.
You did.
It looks cool.
I didn't think. I was gonna say I didn't think that Mafia games were still relevant. I didn't think people
Yeah.
were still into them. Nice to see
So
a new one.
yeah, unlike previous games in the franchise, this will be a linear experience, more similar to Uncharted, with third-person shooting and big set pieces, and it will only be $50, which is surprising in this economy. It releases August 8th, and this game is published by 2K, and I'm sure they'll probably raise the price of their sports games to $80 this holiday, despite this. But EA says that they don't plan to raise the price of their games to $80. So Football Club and Madden will still be.
Mhm.
I assume they're 70 now.
I believe so. Yeah.
And I hope that they actually stand by that, because some people aren't, like Xbox. So Xbox console prices increase, and their game prices were set to increase to $80 starting this holiday. Since May 1st, the Xbox Series S has gone from $350 to $430, the Series X from $500 to $600, and controllers from $60 to $65. And Xbox has confirmed, like I said, that their games will be going up to $80 starting this holiday.
Oh,
And
yeah,
this is,
people are totally gonna buy the console now.
yeah,
It's $80.
this is 100% going to blow up in their face.
Sure.
Because this is just going to result in people buying less games. And the industry is going to suffer as a result. My hope
It's like I
is,
had to pick between like a $70 Xbox game and a $70 Nintendo game. I'm going to pick the Nintendo game, respectfully.
yeah, but this is just for all the games from the companies that they own. So that means Activision and Bethesda. So games that are going to be everywhere are going to cost $80
Oof.
on everything. On PC or Nintendo, on PlayStation, they're going to cost $80. So
That is ridiculous.
get ready to pay $80 for Call of Duty for those people who play Call of Duty every year. Guess what? People aren't going to play Call of Duty every year no more. I'll tell you that much.
I'd say.
They did those Call of Duty sales for sure about to drop.
It feels like every time Xbox tries to save themselves from their most recent like instance of shooting themselves in the foot, they manage to shoot themselves in the other foot at the same time. It's like at this point, You gotta cut your losses, man.
Yeah. My hope is that cheaper and smaller but still quality games like Clair Obscur, which is published by Xbox and is on Game Pass, is how I'm playing it, will start getting made more frequently. Because I know Xbox sees this. A lot of people, Clair Obscur is everywhere except Switch. It's on PlayStation, it's on Xbox, it's on PC. But a lot of people associate it with Xbox because it's on Game Pass. It was revealed in like an Xbox showcase, and I'm pretty sure they published it or something like that. Or they were involved with it in some way. And yeah, they just, if they look at Clair Obscur and do more of that and do more of what Mafia is doing and making smaller games that cost $50, people will buy your games. But in more Xbox news, we have Gears of War Reloaded. Gears of War Reloaded comes to PlayStation 5 on August 26th, remastered from the ground up. So it's not just a port of the old remaster, it's a brand new remaster of that remaster in 4K with up to 120 frames per second with cross progression across everything. And it'll cost $39.99. To a lot of people, this feels like a bad thing for several reasons. For some, it's the weird console war stuff. That means nothing ultimately. For others, and more understandably, it seems like this is the first step to Xbox going the way of Sega and just making software and stop making hardware. But that's not necessarily the case. I understand that this is one of their premier first party games coming to PlayStation. It feels like it's only a matter of time before we get Halo on PlayStation.
Right.
And we probably will. But neither of those things I don't think is necessarily bad. Last episode I talked about how Xbox is killing it this year, despite the price increases. And this adds to that in a very specific way. Releasing these games on more platforms results in more sales and higher likelihoods of getting more games from whatever franchises they decide to start releasing everywhere. And Xbox currently is also running a whole Xbox everything is an Xbox campaign that could result in them sunsetting the Xbox console as we know it, but probably not completely. As I've said before, I think that the Xbox will become the equivalent of a pre-built PC with a handheld option. But we do have 100% confirmation from Xbox themselves that they're working on a new console and a handheld. So we know that they're not out of the console game just yet, despite this. They're just shifting their strategy to maximize the money that they're making. And as someone who's been playing their Xbox a lot within the past few years because of Game Pass, I'm happy they're finally figuring out, because a successful Xbox is healthy for the games industry as a whole. As Greg Miller said on Kind of Funny Games Daily, it's not about just the box anymore. It's about the ecosystem. As long as you're playing Xbox games, Xbox is happy, and they clearly still want there to be a box. Greg Miller also mentions that releasing just the first Gears on PlayStation could funnel people onto other Xbox gaming sources like PC or the new TV streaming app to play the other 6 Gears games that are available on Game Pass. They're fighting this quote unquote console war in a different way now, almost like Nintendo did with the Switch, which is a good sign, I think. Having these 3 very different and distinct but equally good approaches to making games is very cool, and I think would ultimately be good for the industry as a whole. Nintendo is focusing on portability and family games. PlayStation is focused on big single-player experiences, and Xbox is focusing on compatibility and accessibility in many different forms. And we're hearing rumors of PlayStation and confirmation from Xbox that they're chasing Nintendo and making handheld devices, and maybe we'll start to see PlayStation and Nintendo chase after Xbox when it comes to accessibility, because Xbox is like undefeated in terms of accessibility. Okay. Not just accessibility for disabled people, but accessibility in just getting games in people's hands, accessibility in terms of backwards compatibility. Like they're like no one comes close.
Right.
And as much as I hate to say it, with the tariffs, Xbox has set themselves up to succeed in a way that PlayStation and Nintendo haven't with their streaming model, where you can stream games versus having to buy them physically or buy a console at all. So this may look bad from the outside looking in, but this could end up being real good for Xbox. You got any thoughts?
No, I think I'm excited about Gears of War, right? Very nostalgic for me. Not because I played it a whole bunch growing up, but mostly because like some of my first exposures to video games was Gears of War. And I really do hope that this puts like the industry, especially like regarding the console wars and stuff, I do hope this puts the industry in a good spot. But I'm also so scared that it's going to backfire.
Yeah, that's understandable.
Mm-hmm.
Next, we have Death Stranding 2. A bunch of games journalists were flown out to Japan for a week to play Death Stranding 2 for 30 hours. 30
Wow.
hours!
Wow.
Which is 40% of the game, they say. And
oh wow,
it sounds like this game is a step up from the first in every way. So, from the sounds of it, from all the previews and podcasts I've listened to, it seems like they're making a conscious decision to make the game more fun to play early on by allowing you access to equipment that makes delivering easier towards the beginning. People have also said that the combat is much better in Death Stranding 2 and that it feels more like Metal Gear Solid 5. It's not the exact same. It's not Metal Gear Solid 5, but it's a lot closer to that than the first game was. And the combat overall is more fun and much more of a viable option.
Mm-hmm.
And when it comes to the story, they've added the revolutionary active time lore feature from Final Fantasy 16, where during cutscenes, you can pause to learn about information that characters bring up that you don't have an understanding of. Overall, this sounds like a more fun and accessible Death Stranding, and it makes me want to finally play the first game so that I can play this one eventually. Which really, I'll have to find time because there's a lot of games coming out. There's a lot of games coming out. Thank God
Really
GTA is not coming out this year because that would have been one game too many.
Right.
Which, let's get into it.
Yeah.
So GTA 6 released a second trailer, but that was only after the disappointing but understandable announcement of a delay of over a year to May 26th, 2026. But, they gave us a trailer, hold us over, and a website chock full of new details. But, before I go through the website, I want to hear what you thought of the trailer.
I thought the trailer was super cool. I'm usually not very big into GTA, but it did make me very, very excited.
I feel like this might be the GTA to get to.
Yeah, because I grew up with San Andreas, so to me, San Andreas is peak. I know it has its problems, but it's the most nostalgic for me. And after that, all the ones that came after weren't really interesting to me. I've always been more of a Saints Row kind of individual, but this looks like it's up my alley for sure.
Yeah, it looks awesome. It looks insane, and apparently it's running on a base PS5, which
really,
depending on how this runs on base PS5, I don't think I'm ever going to get the PS5 Pro. If I have to, I will, but if I don't, I'm not, and I'll just wait for the PlayStation 6.
Right.
And yeah, this game looks awesome. Rockstar is known for using in-engine footage for their cinematic trailers, so the rumor is that this is exactly how the game will look in gameplay, which is insane. But now on to the website where we get a bunch more information about the game's story and the characters. First, we got a plot synopsis. Jason and Lucia. First off, you should go to the website. It's a really cool website.
I am.
Jason, and you need to see the images too, so we can talk about them as they go, because there's a lot of really good images in there. So, Jason and Lucia have always known the deck is stacked against them. But when an easy score goes wrong, they find themselves on the darkest side of the sunniest place in America, in the middle of a criminal conspiracy stretching across the state of Leonida, forced to rely on each other more than ever if they want to make it out alive. Confirming, it takes place in the entire state, the fictionalized version of Florida, not just Vice City, which is their version of Miami. So first we see Jason Duval, who they start with in a trailer, which shout out to sexualizing men, okay? That sounds wild.
Sure.
But they just start off with this sexy man rippling muscles,
Yeah.
sweating, glistening, and him getting, catcalled by Wubing like for the first like 20 seconds of this trailer.
As they should.
Shout out to
As
them
they
for
should.
that, because they did that because they knew later on they were going to show Lucia's ass every chance they got. But we'll get to that.
For sure.
Every chance they got, they showed. So Jason Duval. Jason wants an easy life, but things just keep getting harder. I almost made a joke. I'm not. Jason grew up around grifters and crooks. After a stint in the army trying to shake off his troubled teens, he found himself in the Keys doing what he knows best, working for local drug runners. But it might be time to try something new. Meeting Lucia could be the best or worst thing to ever happen to him. Jason knows how he'd like it to turn out, but right now it's hard to tell.
Website design is fire.
Yeah. Next we have Lucia Caminos. Lucia's father told her to fight as soon as she could walk. Life has been coming at her swinging ever since. Fighting for her family landed her in Leonida Penitentiary. Sheer luck got her out. Lucia's learned her lesson. Only smart moves from here. More than anything, Lucia wants the good life her mom has dreamed of since their days in Liberty City. But instead of half-baked fantasies, Lucia is prepared to take matters into her own hands. So people have been assuming that possibly we might get a whole nother map in this game that is Liberty City.
That would be a banger.
Because Lucia is from Liberty City, and it would be insane if on top of all of Florida, we got goddamn Manhattan, New York.
Right.
That would be insane, but also dope. Fresh out of prison and ready to change the odds in her favor, Lucia's committed to her plan, no matter what it takes. So next we have some side characters. But I guess before we get into that, actually, let's just talk about these characters right here. GTA characters that genuinely love each other are a rarity. And we're getting that with the dual protagonists of Jason and Lucia. Everything we see in this trailer is a lot of them fucking and and robbing people.
And you know what? Good for them. Good for them.
Yeah, very Bonnie and Clyde. Most romances in GTA are superficial, extremely toxic, and just mild and just full of sexism. So
there's a lot of infidelity in GTA from what I've noticed, isn't there?
Yes, but we're gonna get into that. So it's refreshing to see a couple that genuinely loves each other. But there will definitely, there will definitely be strife and conflict because any good romance story needs it. But it seems like they'll have a decent relationship compared to previous, GTA protagonists. However, you will absolutely be able to cheat because going on dates and sleeping with prostitutes are a serious staple, and I don't think they're going to remove it for the sake of the story of this game. So it's probably going to be a part of the game that you can cheat with both characters, and I wonder how they're going to handle that. Are they just going to make them polyamorous or something? Like, what's going to happen? How are they going to make this work?
Right.
Also, all signs lead to one of them being a cop, and naturally, Jason is suspect number one, Mr. White Man.
Oh yeah,
but
white man, ex-military. That's
but
that's like Cop 101.
They could subvert us and make it Lucia, or neither. We'll have to wait and see. Yeah, going to the side characters. First, we have Cal Hampton. Jason's friend and fellow associate of Brian's, Cal feels safest hanging at home, snooping on Coast Guard comms with a few beers and some private browser tabs open. And it seems like he is a conspiracy theorist. Cal is at the low tide of America and happy there. Casual paranoia, loves company, but his friend Jason has bigger plans. Next character we have is Booby Ike.
It's a crazy name.
Booby is a local Vice City legend and acts like it. One of the few to transform his time in the streets into a legitimate empire, spanning real estate, a strip club, and a recording studio. Booby's all smiles until it's time to talk business. Booby might seem like he's just out for himself, but it's his partnership with the young aspiring music mogul, Draquan, for Only Raw Records that he's most invested in. Now they just need a hit. And next we have Draquan Priest. Draquan was always more of a hustler than a gangster. Even when he was dealing on the streets to make ends meet, breaking into music was the goal. Now that he's signed the Real Dimes, Draquan's days of booking acts into Booby's strip club might be numbered as he sets his sights on the Vice City scene. And next we have Real Dimes. Baylux and Roxy, aka Real Dimes, have been friends since high school. Girls with the savvy to turn their time shaking down local dealers into cold hard cash via spicy rap tracks and relentless social media presence. One hit away from fame, an early hit single with local rapper Downplay took Real Dimes to new heights. Now, after 5 years and a whole lot of trouble, they're signed to Only Raw Records, hoping lightning can strike twice. And next we have Raul Batista. Confidence, charm, and cunning. Raul's a seasoned bank robber, always on the hunt for talent, ready to take the risks that bring the biggest rewards. Raul's recklessness raises the stakes with every score. Sooner or later, his crew will have to double down or pull their chips from the table. And lastly, we have Brian Heder. Brian's a classic drug runner from the golden age of smuggling in the Keys. Still moving product through his boatyard with his third wife, Lori. Brian's been around long enough to let others do his dirty work. Brian's letting Jason live rent-free at one of his properties, so long as he helps with local shakedowns and stops by for Lori's sangria once in a while. And the bottom of the website is cool.
That is a banger.
Yes.
I love a Trump shot.
Yeah, it's like a goddamn Pulp Fiction.
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought of. It's my weakness. I swear.
It's so good. But yeah, this sounds awesome. Yeah, what were you gonna say?
Can we talk about the black hair?
Yes, that's what I wanted to talk about.
Listen, it goes so hard.
Now you know when they add online, this game is for sure about to have the most expansive and the best black hair options in a character creator ever.
I'm saying.
And like this game is already projected to be the biggest like media release ever when it comes to movies, video games, whatever, just in general. And it's going to be industry changing. And hopefully part of that industry changing thing is stepping up the black hair game in video games and having people see how good the black hair is in this game and you know, taking inspiration from that and doing better in their own projects.
No more excuses for the Killmonger cut. If GTA can do it, you can do it too.
But yeah, now I want to get into the state of the United itself. We see some postcards about the city itself, and I'm going to read some of them. So we have Vice City itself. The glamour, hustle, and greed of America captured in a single city. Each neighborhood has something to offer. From the pastel Art Deco hotels and bright white sands of Ocean Beach to the bustling panaderies of Little Cuba and the bootleg brands of the Chishawaka flea market. Out to the VC port, the cruise ship capital of the world. You know, that's Vice City, the place where, you know, a lot of people are going to spend most of their time. And then next we have Leonida Keys. Life in this tropical archipelago isn't flashy, but it's easy. Get your buzz on and pull up a deck chair, but look out, you're right on the doorstep of some of the most beautiful and dangerous waters in all of America. I really hope this game has a hunting system as fleshed out as Red Dead Redemption 2. That would be really fun. That would be a
banger. Oh, you know what? You just reminded me. That was another thing that I got into, but I'll get into it maybe later.
I mean, you know, same developer, so we can definitely get into that. Yeah. You never know what lies beneath the surface, or, well, grass rivers. You never know what lies beneath the surface of this primordial expanse. The gators may be the most famous attraction, but there are far deadlier predators and weirder discoveries among the mangroves.
Oh, that's where all the Florida men live.
Yeah. Next, we have Port Gellhorn. Cheap motels, shutdown attractions, and empty strip malls won't bring the tourists back, but there's a new economy in this once popular vacation spot. It's fueled by malt liquor, painkillers, and truck stop energy drinks. Jump on a dirt bike and hold onto your wallet.
That's just Baltimore, respectfully.
That's insane. That's insane work. How dare you do us like that?
It's true though.
Next we have.
As a person who lives in Inner Harbor, it's true.
Next we have Ambrosia. In the heart of Leonida, American industry and old school values still reign supreme, whatever the cost. The Allied Crystal Sugar Refinery provides the jobs while the local biker gangs provides almost everything else. And I believe that is the wait, nope, one more. Mount Caliga National Park. A national landmark up against the state's northern border, Mount Caliga offers prime hunting, fishing, and off-road trails in the lush surrounding backwoods. Hillbilly mystics and paranoid radicals live far from the prying eyes of the government. This is a place where we'll be able to hunt stuff. But what are you going to say about Red Dead Redemption 2?
Hey, me and my girlfriend started playing it, and I'm loving it.
Oh, you finished the first one?
Kind of.
Oh, you didn't even finish the first one?
Oh, wait.
Did you get to the epilogue?
No.
What? You just decided to play the second one?
I know. This was not my decision. This was the girlfriend's decision.
Well, at least it's a prologue, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Or not a prologue, it's a prequel.
Yeah, that was her reasoning. She's like, I'm gonna see what happens first in the prequel, and then we'll move on, like, to the second. And that makes sense to me. That's usually how I play games like that. But also, like, we were at kind of like an impasse.
It's gonna be hard to go back.
Where it's like, yeah, it's gonna be very hard to go back, because that's the whole reason we started playing 2 when we did, because 1 is just, there's just like nothing. We were enjoying it, but not as much as we're enjoying 2 right now.
Red Dead Redemption 2 is so good. And as you play it, think about all of the cool stuff in that and how that can add to Red Dead Redemption. GTA 6. Because a lot of those systems are for sure going to come back or be evolved, or come back and be evolved in GTA 6.
I hope so.
Like the fact that you can talk to anybody and either antagonize them or like be nice to them. Imagine how much more expansive that's going to be in GTA 6, especially when there's going to be such a much larger population of people. God, it's going to be so good. I imagine that you'll probably also be able to ride horses in this game at some point. You're probably going to be able to get a horse.
That would be a banger!
Because they put a lot of work into that horse tech and, like, you know, scanning actual real horses and, like, doing motion capture with real horses. They're probably going to put horses in this game.
They're not going to put that. Yeah.
This game just looks so exciting. There's been conversations about if this will hurt the industry, and then because it's like, oh, it's this big game and like nothing's gonna be able to like be as good as it and top in. It's like a lot of people have met like the opposite response, where it's like, no, this will be really good for the game industry, because people who haven't played games in 20 years are going to buy a $500-$600 console just to play this game. And if somebody's and nobody's gonna spend that much money on a console and then decide they're never gonna play any other game again, so they're also gonna be like, you know what, I paid $600, might as well get something else, and therefore helping the industry. There's a good, like, so many people who have a PS4 but haven't had a reason to upgrade are going to upgrade because of this. This game is going to sell so many PlayStations and Xboxes. It's going to be insane.
Printing money, basically.
And that's going to result in more people playing other games. So ultimately, this will hopefully be good for the industry, because it's going to result in, you know, people playing different games because they're going to buy a whole new console just to play this. Yeah, this is exciting. I'm so excited for this game. I'm excited to see gameplay. I need gameplay. Why do they got to be so cagey? The game comes out in a year. Just show us something.
They're scared. They're like, what if we show off the gameplay and it's not perfect and then we lose all the traction?
But yeah, you know, I'm Dijon. You can find my ads above me and Aiara's ad above them. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you want to see our channel grow. And to click the notification bell so that you're notified when we post. Peace.
See ya.